Searching for the Kidnapped Bride. This is a love story written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. Copyright. All rights are reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a rival system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author, except by a reviewer who may quote brief passages in a review for a print in a newspaper, general magazine, or school journal. All the characters in this novel are fictitious, and any resemblance to actual person, living or dead, is merely coincidental. Chapter 22. In the brothels owned by the daughter of Al-Jabir Basha. Olivia is not like Ayn. She is a city girl and a well-trained rebel soldier. While training in the jungle with the rebels, she learned how to free herself from the enemy's trap. On that fateful day, the evil Hambati man with Mihira bin Abbud hit her on the head with his Kalashnikov rifle and knocked her unconscious. Then he carried her on his shoulders and jumped with her on his camel, then used her body as a human shield to protect him from the bullets of her lover's gun. When she regained consciousness, she found herself in a dark, cave-like hut with no one around her. Her kidnapper wrapped her mouth with a thick cloth of a long turban. Then he braced her hands and feet together and tied them with strong ropes. She found herself lying on the ground, her body only half covered. She was stripped of her clothes, except for her tiny panties. Even her bra was ripped from her big breast. Her naked body is tormented by the bites of hundreds of ants and thousands of mosquitoes. She is breathing very hard, and her head is bounding as if she were being hit by a hammer. It took her a few minutes to remember her dangerous encounter with the three highway bandits. She remembered everything except what happened after she heard the Malwal shooting. Given her current situation, she guessed that she had been somehow captured and brought to this place. She also blamed herself for not responding quickly enough when she heard Malwal's gun being fired. In the original plan, she was supposed to pull out her gun and ask the evil Hambadi man and his men to surrender. This was the plan to capture Wad Mihira alive, so that they can know from him why he took the Denka bride Ayen and to whom he sold her. Olivia correctly guessed that the one who flogged the captive Arab man to death must have been Wad Mihira, and that he must also be the one who kidnapped her and brought her to this place. Her arrest does not matter to her as much as her thoughts about her lover's fate. Was Malwal killed by Wad Mihira's bullets, or is he still alive? Her worried questions brought hot tears to her beautiful eyes. She decided that she had to get out of this hut and escape from this place. Therefore, Olivia's clever mind began planning a safe escape. It was still dark and late at night when she regained consciousness. She could hear dogs barking nearby. The barking of dogs made her imagine that she was lying in an isolated place inhabited by millions of dangerous brutes. If she can free herself, can she escape from those rabid dogs? How can one man like Wad Mihira provide food for so many animals? Olivia has no idea where she is imprisoned. Wad Mihira had brought her to the brothels and bars owned and managed by the Bim lady, bint Zubir Basha. More than 24 armed gangsters guarded her home during the day. During the night, more than 50 ferocious Sudanese dogs are released to guard the place. The Sudanese dog is not a tame animal. It is as big as a tiger and as dangerous as a lion. The law in Sudan allows the possession of a guard dog. It is common for a thief to be reported killed by the teeth of a night guard dog. The dog does not know anyone at night except its owner. But as the Berbasha brothels are surrounded by a high wall of thorny trees. At night, half of those vicious dogs will roam outside the tall fencing, and the other half will guard the interior area. This space contains many huts and connected to each other like train compartments. In every hut lives a prostitute or a legal sailor. Each girl was warned not to leave her hut at night. Her blood will be on her shoulders if she disobey orders. So whatever a prostitute or a maid wanted to do after the dogs were released, she had to do it inside her hut. If she remains confined within her borders, she is safe. If she had a client who was late until the dogs were released, she had to keep him overnight. The daughter of Elizabeth Basha told every girl that even if Satan dared to come near her brothels at night with his horns on his head and a pitchfork in his hand, he would not be able to escape alive from those predatory dogs. Meanwhile, the second kidnapped Southern girl, Olivia, remained with her hands and legs tied in the dark hut, thinking about how to escape from her place of detention. The first idea that flashed into her intelligent mind was to release herself and escape. While she was thinking of escaping, she was startled when a huge human figure entered the hut. The man holds an oil lamp in his left hand. The flame of the lamp, which is like a lantern, revealed his identity to Olivia. He is the devil incarnate with Mihera. His blood-filled eyes look at her half-naked body like a hungry wolf. She leaned against the wall when she noticed in his right hand the same whip he had used to kill the captive and bound Arab Janjaweed man. What Mihera said in a very angry voice, "This girl is the mother of a camel who has a big pussy. Someone has used her to try to kill me and my brave men." The Hambati man continued, his voice hoarse like a ghoul or an ogre. "Don't worry about her, my brave hero, what Mihera bin Abud. I will punish her for you and break her arrogance very soon." A woman's voice answered from the somewhere in the dark shadow of the hut. Behind him, Olivia suddenly became aware of the huge figure of a woman as big as the hut itself. She wondered how such a large woman could get through the small door of the hut. The first explanation that came to her mind was that the builders must likely build the hut around the elephant woman. "You know what I will do to the bitch who disobeys me? I will sit on her body until she takes her last breath." Olivia knew that if such a woman bulldozers carried out her threat, she would suffer a more painful death than the captive Arab man crushed by what Mehera's huge camel. "This girl must stay in this hut for the rest of her life, must work as a prostitute, and be fucked by more than 20 men every day and every night," said the evil Hambati man. His face looked terrifying in the dim lamp. The obese woman laughed, but the sound was not pleasant. "Since I saw her face, and measured her body, I knew what kind of work she was suitable for. She had the perfect sexy body, fit for a high-profile prostitute who could seduce the city mayor. I can make a lot of money selling her pussy to rich, lustful men. What Mihera gasped sarcastically. He pointed it to the half-naked captive girl and said, "Now untie her hands and feet from the ropes. Remove the clothes of the turban from her mouth and let her talk to me. I want to know who the uncircumcised Christian infidel southern man who killed two of my brave men with his pistol. I swear to my grandmother, the brave Sudanese hero Mehera bin Aboud, that I will not rest until I kill the black slave and burn his unclean body." Chapter 23. The mother of Abusi and the beastman. Olivia felt as if a sharp sword had cut through her naked shoulder and reached the other end of her bare back when the Hambati man struck her with his long whip. She screamed loudly in unbearable agony. Another blow landed on her other shoulder and moved to her large bare buttocks. She's only in her red lingerie. The pain was so terrible that it caused her to roll on the ground like a snake whose head had been hit by a sledgehammer. The human monster waited for Olivia's body to reach the other end of the hut. The fucking slut girl, what Mihera was angry, his face red and wet from his fatigue. "You wanted to bring shame to my name. You wanted people to say that Jamal or the mother of Abusi killed what Mihera bin Aboud. If you do not tell me the name of your uncircumcised black man who killed two of the brave Arab men of the Hambata, I will flog you to death." As he spoke, he raised his whip again. Olivia knew that the monster meant every word he said. So, in order to keep herself alive and carry out her escape, she must tell him everything in a trembling voice that she barely recognized. That then the girl told Mihera bin Aboud where she met her Denka lover Malwal and what promoted them to come to the western region of Sudan. "I know every big hotel and little inn in this city," said the angry man, pointing the dagger at her face with his right hand and the whip with his left hand. "He is a left-handed man. If I don't find your sodomite man, the Black Zungi, by tomorrow evening, I will come back here, cut you into little pieces, and burn your remains with unquenchable fire." Olivia began to tremble and sweat when she felt the sharp edge of the dagger on her throat. The huge monster approached her and breathed in her face. "Yes, Jamal, you uncircumcised southern Christian girl, if I don't kill your infidel man by tomorrow, I will slaughter you instead." Kamil means a woman who has a pussy. It is a trash language and is usually used as an insult. The founder of Islam, Prophet Muhammad, said in one of his misogynistic hadiths that a woman is like a she camel, and a man can climb on her body and fuck her pussy with his penis or a cock. Olivia closed her eyes to block out the wild man's view. She only reopened her eyes when she felt the sharp dagger being lifted from her throat. Then the angry man, with Mihera, spoke over his shoulder to the large woman. Now you can leave, the daughter of Basha. I will stay here until the morning to make sure she never forgets this night for the rest of her life. When Meher had emptied 2 bottles of strong local liquor into his big stomach before falling asleep. Then he fell into a deep sleep and began snoring like a camel. He became very drunk, and this saved the captive Christian girl Olivia from the painful torture of rape by such a brutal Muslim man. His snoring, his voice like a wolf's howl as Olivia sets into motion her escape plan. Before he got drunk and fell asleep, he had tied her hands and feet with strong ropes. She is now lying on her face and stomach. Olivia began to push her body with great difficulty towards the oil lamp. The flame of the lantern, like the flame of a candle, continued to burn and illuminate the hut with a dim light. Olivia could still hear the barking of the dogs surrounding the hut. She knew that if she could free herself, she would never dream of venturing out and falling prey to the sharp teeth of those ferocious brutes. Her intelligent mind decided to escape from the dogs as she slowly advanced on the ground. Once she was near the lamp, she extended her long legs until they reached above the flame of the lantern. Then she lowered them slowly and carefully and blessed them over the flame. She groaned as the flame began to burn her flesh along with the rope. The torment is extremely painful. She bit her lower lip and allowed her tears to overpower the ugly burning sensation. Olivia couldn't bear the pain long enough for the flame to completely burn the rope. She moved her legs away from the flames and began rolling on the ground to extinguish the fire. She waited some time before repeating the painful experience. On her second attempt, the rope broke. She was very relieved once her plan worked. She did the same trick to get rid of the rope binding her hands. This rope caused her more trouble because her hands were tied behind her back, but in the end, she was free. Although the burning of the skin continued to cause her severe pain, Olivia did not waste a single minute to cool her skin. Her eyes looked at the huge, monster-like man lying asleep on his back. She asked herself how she could carry out her revenge on him. She saw his dagger pinned to his left shoulder. Around his waist is a large leather belt. Like a cat walking in the night, Olivia crept toward her arch enemy and abuser. She used a military tactic to remove the dagger from his shoulder without waking him. The dangerous bandit was still asleep when Olivia stabbed his neck with his long dagger. He answered with a voice like the scream of a camel that had been struck in the neck with an axe before being slaughtered. Olivia snatched the dagger from his neck and quickly thrust it into his heart. The evil Hambati man, Meher bin Abud, the so-called brave Sudanese hero, died in a few minutes, and he was killed by the infidel Christian female, the uncircumcised Jabal, or the woman who has uncircumcised pussy. Chapter 24. The Fire of Hell in Sodom and Gomorrah. Olivia's movement inside the hut worried some dogs wandering nearby. They started barking and howling like wolves, making the other dogs join them. Then the captive southern girl who had freed herself began to hear the same frightening sounds that the dogs had made when what Mihera and Bitter Ziber had come earlier to harshly interrogate her. She expected the evil woman to return at any moment to find out what had angered the dogs. She immediately examined the body of the slain monster and found the thing she was looking for. One of her military instructions was not to not only kill her enemy, but also to relieve him of any valuables believed to have been stolen from her southern people. Olivia found the largest wallet she had ever seen. A quick glance at its contents assured her that she would be the richest woman in Sudan for the rest of her life. It contains Sudanese and Arab currencies, euros, and thousands of US dollars, in addition to pieces of jewelry. Most of these pieces of jewelry are made of pure gold. She wrapped the leather wallet securely around her bare waist. It was time for the second stage of her escape. She found her clothes lying in another corner of the hut and put them on her naked body. She also wore her tall military boots. Having done this, she took the burning oil lamp, opened its lid, sprinkled the lantern's kerosene on the walls of the hut, and with her racing heart kindled a flame and threw it against the wall. In less than 5 minutes, the entire hut was engulfed in flames. These huts were made of wood and flammable grass, therefore they are a fair hazard. Flames jumped onto the roofs of neighboring huts from the right and left. By the time Olivia opened the door to the hut and stepped out, more than half a dozen huts had been engulfed in flames. The dogs have wild eyes, running this way and that way. Many prostitutes ran out of their huts, screaming, and headed toward the main gate. The escaped captive Azandi girl Olivia joined the other escaped girls and ran with them. By the time she reached the gate, every hut was engulfed in flames. The ferocious dogs ran for their lives as well. They left the headquarters like bullets and headed to the deep valley that separates the brothels of Bint Zubair from the urban areas of the city of Al-Fashir. If someone saw voracious dogs running and prostituted girls following behind them, he might conclude that the last human being group was chasing the fairest animal group. It is like the prophet Lot or Lut when he fled with his family from the burning cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. No girl dared to stop and look behind her for fear of being turned into a pillar of salt. The red color of dawn mixed with the dark smoke from the massive fire. Olivia arrived in Al-Fashir city after running around with the other girls for some time. When they arrived in the city, the prostitutes were divided into twos, threes, and fours. Olivia followed a group of southern girls until they led her to the main railway station in Al-Fashir city. At the station, she separated from the prostituted girls who were being held captive as servants and slave girls in the brothels of the daughter of Al-Zubair Basha and disappeared into the crowd. Meanwhile, her Habibi, Malwal, was forced to wake up from his sleep due to the screams of the guests of the African Laconda known as the Al-Fashir City Hotel. It took a few minutes to see what the commotion in the inn was about. The motel does not have separate rooms, and the guests sleep either in large wards, such as soldiers or prisoners in barracks, and most of them sleep on the ground in the motel courtyard. rubbing their bodies with dirt and covering themselves with the sky. The American groom here shouts that a huge fire had burned half of the city. The fire is heading towards them and could start a fire in the motel's wooden halls at any moment. Manuel dressed and quickly emerged from the Laconda to join other anxious guests in their collective evacuation to the street. He spent his first night sleeping in a crowded ward containing more than 40 inmates and remained awake. All the time, he fought with thousands of bloodsuckers, including mosquitoes, cockroaches, and flies. The small mattress he slept on had no bed and was filled with hundreds of flies and ticks. So he only slept for a few hours during the morning. When the sun rose and the vampire insects slept and the flies took over the daily shift and began flying like bees over the bodies and landing on the mouths of the inmates. There are also large swarms of ants and scorpions crawling and wandering around looking for someone to bite and sting. When the sleep groom emerged from the so-called African hotel, he shuddered from the glare of the sky, the enormous tanks of flame flashing on the horizon, and he choked on the acrid smoke of the fire. The truth is that Al-Fadadiya bint Zubair Basha, or the Bim lady, owned the same Laconda, and therefore it was located not far from the prostitution and slavery camps in which her captive females resided. As Marwal put his long legs in the bin, he heard fire brigade trucks ringing their bells and heading toward the flames. During his escape, the southern lover received advice from another African man running next to him that they should run toward the main railway station in case the fire consumed the entire city, as happened before in the city of Gadarif in eastern Sudan in 1955. At least they could find a train there and flee from the fire that broke out in the brothels of Sodom and Gomorrah and safely exit the city. They could escape for their precious lives. Before the American groom reached the railway station, the fare reached the African Laconda motel and burned to ruins. By then, Malwal and the other guests had already entered the profound valley of shadow of death. It would be easier to cross a sea of burning acid or a molten lava than to cross that dangerous valley that separates the residential city from the brothels of the huts of the daughter of Satan Basha. All the city, trash, dirt, broken things, car remains, bed carcasses, and other waste are dumped into this deep valley. This valley is teemed with wild animals such as wolves, hyenas, foxes, and stray dogs. Beside, night robbers and bandits use the valley as a hideout and attack those who cross it to the prostitution camps and liquor parts of Bint Zubair Basha. Every night, one or two citizens are robbed and sometimes killed inside that valley. By the time Malwal emerged from the other side of the valley, his feet were bleeding. Bruises were all over his body, and his face was scratched by thorny bushes, broken glass, tons of rubbish, skeletal remains, and rotting animal carcasses. Only 1 hour after he and the other guests crossed the valley, Massive fires reached it and consumed its bushes, garbage, and decomposing bodies. Therefore, hellfire became a blessing for some people as it riddled the city with piles of garbage, and a curse for others as it destroyed prostitution camps and huts of homemade liquor. On that day, some of the Shamashes became wealthy, plundering the vast estate of Bint Zubair Basha and stealing many valuables from her brothels and tavern huts where local alcoholic beverages were made. Somehow the fire brigade was able to put out the fire before it reached the city. At midday, the massive brutal fire set by the Adandi girl fleeing traumatic rape and brutal murder was finally brought under control. Meanwhile, estranged lovers Malwala and Olivia wander aimlessly around the railway station until chance brings them together again. The brave Azandi lover was the one who saw her American Denka lover sitting alone in a chair with a table in one of the open caves and surprised him from behind. She quietly slid down and covered his eyes with her hands. She waited, breathless, for him to guess who she was. The boyfriend recognized his girlfriend's loving hands and perfume smell immediately. He jumped up from his seat and his mouth shouted joy in his heart. Olivia! The beautiful Azandi girl jumped into the arms of her handsome Denka boy, and the two lovers clung to each other as if they had been separated for a century. Chapter 25. Reconstruction of the brothels of Sodom and Gomorrah. The fire of hell redirected the attention of public opinion in the city of Fashir from the issue of the enslavement of the adulterous man, Imam Abdul Razik al-Mahdi of the Denke girl Ikhlas, to the issue of the prostitution of the wealthy Bim lady Bint Zubair Basha. Before the fire that destroyed half of her illegal businesses, people believe she ran brothels and local liquor taverns for making and selling forbidden alcohol. But the appearance of some of her captive, homeless girls on the city's roads revealed that the daughter of Satan Basha also runs the slave trade. Therefore, there is public pressure on the police force to investigate the rumor and put an end to the illegal activities of Bint Zubair Basha. Because of this new wave of public protest, the proud Bim lady was arrested for the first time in her life. She was arrested while staying in her huge mansion located 2 blocks from the residence of the mayor of Al-Fashir city. The truth is that the daughter of Zubair Basha did not spend a single night in her brothels and slavery camps. She resided in the most urbanized, affluent, and safest area of the city. She comes to her brothels and parts of liquor shacks every day in her brand new Mercedes car. Late at night, her chauffeur drives her to her luxurious palace in downtown Al-Fashir. She has 3 dangerous armed bodyguards in her car and 4 more armed guards in her house. Even her driver is her bodyguard and armed to the teeth. She has 6 huge guard dogs in her mansion as well. Her brothers are guarded by several dangerous gangsters and 50 guard dogs. During her interrogation, Al-Zubair Basha's daughter admitted that she owned the huts, but she said she rented them to anyone who wanted it, temporary or a permanent housing. She denied her involvement in any type of illegal activities, such as prostitution, slavery, making alcohol, such as aragi and marisa, or selling drugs, such as bangu, hashish, and shisha. Aragi is like illegally made moonshine liquor in America, and marisa is like daru, which is another locally made alcohol in India, which is illegal. If the tenants had turned their huts into houses for practicing prostitution and making and selling illegal liquor and forbidden drugs, this happened without her knowledge. At the end of the day, the police deputy commissioner, the city mayor, and some other senior government officials had been bribed, and Binta Zubair Basha was released from detention in less than 24 hours after her arrest. In the meantime, captive prostitute girls who remained loyal to the BIM lady were provided with temporary housing in some of the city's motels and inns until their shacks were rebuilt. Some of the beautiful high-profile prostitutes were forced to accommodate the homeless girls of Bint Zubair Basha. These lovely beauties are reserved for wealthy VIP men and the cream of society. If any high-profile, high-priced prostitute refuses to accept this temporary arrangement, she risks losing her job, her life, or both. Once Bint Zubair Basha cleared herself of the charges, she immediately began rebuilding her former empire. Every shack builder in the city was employed to rebuild the brothels and tavern huts where local liquor was made. Some skilled builders were even imported from neighboring cities. During this period, the prices of alcohol and drugs doubled, and prostitutes roaming the streets were asking 10 times their usual rates. These sudden increases have led to some serious social problems. There are police reports of individual sexual assaults and gang rapes, and homosexual acts and sodomy has become an open practice in workplaces and educational institutes. In schools, young male children are exposed to sexual harassment, abuse, and rape by their teachers and other older pupils alike. This time, Bint Zubair Basha learned a lesson from her previous mistake. The builders were ordered to maintain sufficient space between each hut and another hut to prevent fires and complete destruction of the shacks in the future. She bribed the mayor to give her more land and bought some of the huts and quads of the outcasts who were living in the slums on the outskirts of the city. Furthermore, she purchased some private owned fields and added them to her holdings. Construction took 2 weeks. Typically, a hut can be built in less than 4 hours if the builders are well paid, and in 2 days if prices are low. People prefer to build their huts in a short time to avoid unnecessary expenses. The hut builder expects his employer to feed him and his helper boys for the duration of the construction project. The landowner must provide 3 meals, tea, coffee, snuff, and in some cases, cigarettes for the builders of the hut or a gotia. At every hour of the day, builders expected to receive cups of tea or coffee. No one in the whole world could consume as much tea as hut builder could drink. People believe that every hut builder has a crocodile's tongue. Another problem facing cottage builders is that if the landowner has a beautiful wife or a sexy daughter, the work will be delayed indefinitely. No stranger man is ever allowed to see another man's wife, unmarried daughter, or a teenage sister inside the restricted section of women without risking his life, except for the hut and kutia builder. For those of you who are not familiar with African homes, a kutia and a hut are one and the same thing, except for size and height. The fair is larger and longer than the other. The hut builder or the kutia constructor will never touch one of these beautiful, sexy women, but gazes at their semi-naked bodies lustfully from his high tower during construction, while his cock stands erect inside his julbab like an English cannon during Second World War. Sometimes he sings some vulgar songs to attract the attention of those hot girls so they could see his dick standing concealed beneath his white jalabiya like the canon of Ramadan. Usually, this young woman did not wear abayas and veils inside their homes, but rather walked freely in the courtyards of their houses, while each one of them showed the hut builder her lovely face, swung her huge ass, and revealed her large half-naked breast. In any case, it did not take long for the daughter of a Ziber Basha to discover the cause of the devastating fire in the whore huts and liquor shacks of her mortal prostitution empire. Firefighters were able to recover the body of the brave and dangerous citizen of Al-Hambata, Wadmehera bin Aboud, before the flames completely consumed it. He was the only person found dead inside the hut. The rest of the prostitutes, gang members, guard dogs, and other domestic animals such as sheep, goats, lambs, cows, camels, donkeys, horses, and cats managed to safely escape from the fair. Even chickens and pigeons survived, but a few of the pigeons were burned and died. These doves spread flames throughout their burning wings as they flew from the heads of the big shacks to the tops of other small huts. Some chickens also spread fire while trying to escape. The body of the evil Hambadi man was transported to the hospital for an autopsy, the results of which revealed that Wadmehera died of his wounds before the fire caused additional damage to his body. He was stabbed by his own long dagger into his neck and heart. The police authorities had no idea who his killer was, but his death was a great relief to the city's residents and the police authority. The daughter of Zubair Basha denied any knowledge of who killed that brave man inside one of her huts. She cried in front of the police when she spoke of the heroic, generous, and noble deeds of the greatest Hambati who ever lived, who was the inspiring hero, Wadmehera bin Aboud. As soon as the police left her palace, the Basha's daughter summoned her gang members and told them who was the girl who had killed the brave man, Wadmehera, set fire to her hut and destroyed her empire of prostitution and the sale of alcohol and drugs. She promised a reward of $500 million Sudanese pounds and some gold and jewelry to whoever arrested the Adandi girl who killed the brave Hambati. She gave her search team an accurate description of Libya and sent them to bring her out of hiding. Gangsters throughout the city spread the news that a woman had killed the dangerous Hambati man with Mehera bin Abbud. Some fabricated details were added to the story. She was a professional prostitute and a thief. She killed him by stabbing him in the neck or heart with her light dagger and then stole his huge fortune. Such information moved at the speed of light and spread like wildfire on a large scale in the regions of Darfur, Kordofan, and the Nuba mountains until crossed the Sudanese border and entered the state of Chad. Therefore, everyone in the city of Al Fashir, its suburbs, and the regions of western Sudan knew that the dangerous Hambati man with Mehera bin Abbud had been killed by Jamal, a prostitute with a large uncircumcised pussy. In addition, she is an impure, infidel Christian girl from the south of Sudan. Chapter 26 Baramilu Man. There is a type of work Sudan known as Baramilu. It is a government job, and the worker receives his wages from the municipality. However, in Sudan, a woman may choose to work as a prostitute and a man as a slave instead of being a Baramilu. The job requires that the worker participate in cleaning the city. It is not a simple hygiene task or just cleaning the streets. Anyone in need can scrap shit from toilets or clean streets of garbage, but very few people will willingly agree to become Baramilu. In fact, 99% of Sudanese citizens would rather die of starvation than do this kind of work. It would be difficult to write a job description for a Baramilu in a few sentences, but a municipal government can tolerate any type of strike except a Baramilu strike. If the men of Baramilu would have a strong union, which might be unlikely, and that union called a general strike, the whole city would be reduced to a foul-smelling public cesspools. This gives one an idea of the kind of social work that Baramilu brings to the city. It has also become clear that no other social work is more important to society than that of Baramilu. Although the nature of such work is now clear, it would be difficult for anyone who has not lived where humans perform this function to fully understand how it is carried out in real life. Human waste, such as urine and feces, must be taken outside the city, buried out, and buried in large holes somewhere in the wilderness. How can such an operation be performed by people? Suffice it to say that the Baramilu is a professional work and a human art. If the worker does not do the job well, he may be killed or seriously injured. The Baramilu men must do their work either late at night or early in the morning before sunrise. Because the society, fine ladies and gentlemen of town do not wish to see or approach the Baramilu workers. Therefore, Baramilu men, who are like untouchables in Hindu society, are not allowed to appear during the day and do their work. In India, the Brahmins, the highest caste in the Hindu religion, do not tolerate untouchables appearing on the street, who they consider may discredit them by stepping on their shadows. Like bats, the outcasts must emerge from their slum huts only at night and search for their food like stray dogs. In Sudanese Islamic society, the Baramilu man has no such filthy element inherited through his karma, but no one can peer the stench that is generated when he performs his duty. Even dogs cannot dare approach the men of Baramilo. In general, it is an unenviable job. His presence at night repels all of God's creatures, including mosquitoes and bats. Baramilo men use tractors to perform their duties. The tractor is attached to a long trailer that resembles a cabin on a freight train. The trailer carries a huge container such as those used to transport flammable materials such as gas or fuel. If the huge jar breaks or its container explodes, the residents of that area must abandon their places of residence forever. Even animals and insects may not survive in that place again. It would be as if a nuclear bomb hit the city, as happened in the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. Fortunately, up to the present, no such disaster has been reported in any city in Sudan. Only the driver and 2 workers are allowed to ride the tractor. The foreman drives the tractor and the 2 workers fill the container with human waste such as urine and feces. They stand over the container like snipers. Their main task is to receive buckets filled with disgusting sewage of human feces and urine, which they must then pour into the container. More than 30 other workers run behind the tractor doing 3 different tasks. Their tasks are divided into 3 sections. 10 workers run alongside the tractor, go to human dwellings, and open toilets to remove the buckets of waste. Each bucket is large and heavy, like a barrel, and in Arabic it is called a birmil, hence the name of the workers, Baramil men. So the men of Baramilu got their name from those barrels filled with urine and feces. In some major cities, such as Khartoum and Wadmadani, the barrel workers are called Yalbandia or Bende boys, and their tractors are called the night trains. Bandy boys or a barrel men must be male, and therefore the Lord does not allow any woman to do such a dangerous and disgusting act. As we mentioned, buckets are called baramil in Arabic, and in English they mean buckets. A normal-sized man would usually not be able to lift one of these barrels, even if it was empty of urine and feces. The second group of 10 workers carry the barrels on their heads, return to the truck, and hand them over to the 2 snipers, who must board them into the container attached to the tractor. Once the snipers emptied the barrel, they threw them into the air. They never worry about where the barrel fell or on which head it landed. Often the snipers do not empty the package completely. The remaining substance will be spread all over the ground, filling the air and space with abundant and unpleasant odor. It is the duty of the third group of 10 Baramilu men to collect these scattered packets and return them back to the toilets from which they were taken. But not all Baramilu men in Sudan have the privilege of having a tractor, trailer, and container. In some small cities and countrysides, Baramilu men carry buckets over their heads at night and walk a long distance to a place outside the town or village. Then, like people carrying dead bodies to funerals, they must bury human waste in large, bottomless, like pits in the wilderness. Given the nature of the work of burial men, it may be useful to understand how latrines are built in Sudan. It is a small hut or a nest built on an area of 1 meter by square meter. In each house, there are two toilets, one for men, one for women. A small platform made of wood or concrete is made in the middle of the square. One can climb to this platform using a two-step ladder. In the center of the platform is a small circular hole. The opening is slightly larger than a rat burrow and slightly smaller than a rabbit hole. It is large enough to serve its purpose. Under the, under the circle is a bucket. The Baramilu must take out the bucket and retrieve it through a small hole specially made for it. No other human being is expected to approach those toilets and touch those buckets except Baramilu. If any other than a Baramilu man was seen near one of those women's toilets and opened its lid and saw a female's private parts and she was naked and urinating from her pussy and defecating from her ass, the man of that house would kill him immediately and his blood would be on his shoulders. This is also one of the honor killings in Sudan, whose killer is not punished by the law. Chapter 27. Our brother Tia. Brother Tia resembled the first man, Adam, who God created him from the dust of the earth. Mr. Tia has no father, mother, wife, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, cousins, grandparents, or any other relatives. He also has no friends, neighbors, or loved ones. At least for Adam, God later created his wife, Eve or Hawa, from his rib. But Tia did not have a wife who was created even from his head or one of his legs. He does not remember his parents and does not even know which tribe he belongs to. While growing up, he learned some of the local languages, which added to his confusion. His mother could be an African woman and his father an Arab man. It is also possible that she was an African woman and the man who impregnated her was an African man, or an Arab woman was an African man. The latter combination is highly unlikely because in a disgusting racist society such as Sudan, a union of this kind between Arab girls and African boys rarely occurs except in a fantasy tale or a daydream of a teenage black girl or a hallucination of a crazy African boy, if it happens at all. An Arab family may agree to marry its daughter to a dog, a pig, or even to the devil, but never to an African boy, as if he were an outcast in a Hindu society. With no known relatives or parents, it is difficult to discover Tia's place of birth, his family, his tribe of origin, or even how old he is. Who named him Tia? How and where he was born? His early childhood memories are dim. His memory cannot take him back to until he was 5 years old. Although he calls himself a Muslim man, Tia was never taught the principles of Islam and never prayed in his entire life. He does not even know any one of the 5 pillars of Islam. The first social law our brother Tia learned earlier in his life is that might is right. Necessity taught him to fight for survival during his time homelessness on the street. With the strength of his hands, brother Tia earned his living. He beat young beggars and homeless children and stole their food, money, and anything they had, even if it was trivial and worthless. Naturally, He paid the price for that aggressive behavior. Because he was young at the time, the police would immediately arrest and flog him whenever he harmed homeless or chant boys. Other gentlemen in the community will do the same whenever they see Tia beating other beggar children. It is expected and acceptable behavior in this Islamic society for any man to slap, kick, or flog any child whom he sees as not behaving properly. In that society, hitting, flogging, slapping, and kicking children is not considered child abuse. Even a husband hitting his wife, a father hammering his daughter, or a brother striking his sister is considered a type of discipline and is permitted by the Holy Quran in Surah An-Nisa 4, verse 34, and supported by sacred hadiths in the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad, who said, a man should not be asked why he is beating the member of his household. If our brother Tia had no family or relatives, how did he come into this world? Who named him Tia? To answer this question accurately, we have to go back to his childhood days. Tia found himself growing up in the streets like a stray dog, abandoned and thrown away by its owner. He escaped death and starvation in his early years by begging. When his hands and legs became strong enough, he started working as a porter, carrying goods and other items for people in the main market as an unskilled labor, just like the coolie porter at the Indian railway station. He really made a little money with this hard work. Often the older homeless kids stole the petty cash earned by the porter Tia. Nature taught our brother Tia to fight for survival. He has learned that it is not enough to beg and work, but must also fight those homeless boys who like to make easy money by blundering, robbing, pickpocketing from people and small kids. Unfortunately, when he got a little older, the Tia boy also learned some bad habits. He was not guided by any code of morals or a code of ethics, and he did not even have any religious education. In practical terms, he is neither a Muslim nor a Christian nor even an African spiritualist animist. He is not a religious person at all. Until he became an adult, he did not even know the meaning of the word God. Later in life, he discovered that belonging to a religion was an important social status, and he has since claimed to be a Muslim. However, no one can remain a child forever. Our brother Tia did not live in the Neverland, where children stay forever young and fly like birds in the air without wings like Peter Pan and his friends. So against his will, Tia grew up and reached the next stage of his life. As the existentialist said, he was thrown into the world and asked to make a man out of himself. Because he lacked any moral education, he turned it into a criminal. He began adulthood by stealing, looting, pickpocketing, and deceiving people. Later, he was also involved in breaking into people's homes at night and armed robbery on the streets. His commission of armed robbery put him in serious trouble with the law. One night, the police ambushed him in a dark, deserted valley near the prostitution huts of Bint Zubair Basha and arrested him. Our brother Tia has been arrested several times before for small crimes. In each case, he spent a period in prison for a few months or a year at most. Sometimes he was also flogged for stealing small and trivial items. When he was arrested for armed robbery, the judge of the criminal court in Al Fashir city took his case seriously and sentenced him to a long period term. Those 14 years he spent in prison ended up being the best years of his life. Our brother Tia was sent to Shala Central Prison in Niala City. The central government in Khartoum established Shala Prison to get rid of notorious criminals who had escaped the death penalty or rival politicians who had caused problems for it. For it is lifelong rule. Most governments in Islamic, Arab, and African countries remain in power if they can control their rival politicians. Shala prison was created to punish and get rid of bad citizens like Brother Tia. When he appeared before the Al Fashir criminal court judge, he was tried as an adult, even though he was just a minor teenager. He was under 18. He always remembers those moments while standing before the criminal judge. "What is your name?" the judge asked harshly. "I have no name, sir," or Brother Tia answered truthfully. The judge frowned. "How can you not have a name? Even dogs and cats in this country have been named." The underage boy, who had no home, no family, and no name, swallowed the insult hard. "Your Honor, some people call me the son of Satan, and others call me Wad al Haram, that is, the fondling child, and I do not like either name." The judge looked at him for a while and said, "From today on, your name is Tia." The judge gave him this name because it reminded him of a notorious criminal by that name who had been sentenced to death by hanging a few years earlier. That deceased criminal looked like Tia's twin. In this way, Brother Tia got his official first name. "How old are you?" the judge continues his questioning. The rich teen shrugged his shoulder. He did not know how to answer because he did not have a birth certificate to present to the judge to convince him that he was still a minor. After a moment of thought, he replied, "I don't know how old I am, sir." The judge slammed his gavel on the table and spoke his last words. "I sentence you to 14 years in Shala prison with hard labor." T was surprised and shocked because this was the maximum punishment he could get for his crime. He did not know that the judge preferred to execute him. But his crime did not deserve the death penalty. Only murderers, rival politicians, Muslim apostates, and adulterers can be sentenced to death, hanged, or stoned in the Islamic country. Instead, the judge sent him to Shala prison like some other unlucky inmates, where he hoped our brother Tia would die before even half of his 14-year sentence had been completed. In fact, Shala is not even a prison. It is a heavily guarded area where the worst criminals are kept. It has no wards, rooms, or cells. It has no roofs, but has high wire fences that are electrified, so not even ants can climb them. No god, no devil, no goblin, no genie can cross it and escape alive. Prisoners do not have roofs over their heads and have to protect themselves in one way or another from the rays and heat of the scorching African sun. They use their own clothing to protect their heads from the heat during the day and the cold during the night. They eat only one meal a day, made of bread boiled eggs, and fava beans. In addition, they have to keep themselves protected from scorpions and snakes, flies, mosquitoes, cockroaches, bugs, ticks, and lice are the least of the many problems they face every day and every night. During the heavy rainy season, prisoners are forced to use prison uniforms as umbrellas. All these hardships are nothing compared to the human peace that Brother Tia has to fight with in order to survive in shallow prison. If a prisoner cannot fight for his food, he will starve to death. Once again, the law of nature, survival for the fittest, is the only law applicable to life in shallow prison. A person might survive a fight against an experienced gladiator in a Roman Colosseum, but not in a shallow prison. He might also conquer hungry lions in Flavian's Roman amphitheater, but not in that notorious Sudanese prison. Despite the dangers and hardship of this death camp, our brother Tia is naturally gifted with strong, muscular body. In fact, every inch of his short body is covered in muscle. Even his cheeks, lips, nose, and ears are muscular. Many notorious criminals tried to kill or defeat the prisoner Tia in his first few days in shallow penitentiary, but they were unable to do so. Within a short time, our brother Tia earned the title of indestructible man. With the strength of his muscles, he was able to remain in that prison of death until he completed 14 years. Those long years taught him a lesson that he never forgot, which is why they are the best years of his life. Whatever happens to him, Mr. Tia has vowed never to return to shallow prison again. So, when he was finally released from the detention of that bottomless pit of hellish life, he began looking for a legitimate way to earn his living. Because our dear brother Tia has no education or work experience and he is illiterate and ignorant, no one was willing to hire him. In addition, people can see the traces of his criminal life written all over his face. When all possible doors to, to earn a lawful livelihood were close to his face, our brother Tia decided to become a Baramilu man, and he got hired at the spot. Chapter 28: The billion-bound golden opportunity for the outcast man Tia. Although our brother Tia hates his disgusting job of being a Baramilu man carrying every night heavy barrels full of human urine and feces on his bald head, he has no other alternatives. It has been a year since he became Baramilu. Within this year, he mastered his work well and got used to it. It didn't take long for the former criminal who repented and became Baramilu to lose his sense of smell. His co-workers also warned him that the job put him at a risk of developing a chronic disease such as a lung cancer. So far, our brother Tia has remained healthy. His years in the notorious shallow prison may have given him immunity to all kinds of diseases. Mr. Tia has no social life outside of his work, and it is the only time of the day he can socialize with other humans without being shunned. Now people not only fear him as a dangerous criminal, but also avoid communicating with him because of the stench that follows him like a shadow wherever he goes. In humans, the baramilu resembles a skunk among animals, which has the ability to spray a liquid with a strong, unpleasant odor. No soap, perfume, or disinfectant can get rid of that unpleasant, nasty smell. Our brother Tia has never had a wife or a girlfriend, and it is unlikely that he will have one now or in the future. He has no friends or neighbors, as if he lives on an island without inhabitants. Tia built his hut with his own hands. He collected wood, broken boxes, grass, metal, and other scraps to set up his own shelter. His small hut has no fence, door, or windows. It is just a roof without walls, and this is much better than the dorm's less shallow prison. His hut rests on tall on two pillars in the shape of a cross. Mr. Tia cannot keep a dog to guard his hut in his absence. He is very afraid that the dog will eat him out of hunger. His hut is located at the end of town. He is like a person isolated by society due to an infectious plague. Mr. T and other outcasts live outside the prostitution and slavery camps of Bint Zubair Basha. Believe it or not, even the prostitutes refused to allow him access to their bodies, even though he was willing to pay twice what they asked of their customers. One bold pitch went down the register when she told him to his face that she would rather sleep with the devil than with a man like him. When he asked her why she did not want him to have sex with her by paying many times the price of her pussy, the bold slut said to him on his face, "Because you are uglier than a pig and filthier than a stray dog that is scabby, rabid, and full of rabies. Moreover, since you are Baramilu, your dirty body has a stench worse than that of a skunk." From that day on, the bitches called him Abu Ufain, and whenever he came, they expelled him and beat him by sticks and chased him away with their ferocious dogs like an outcast or a wild beast. Anyway, our dear brother Tia's work starts at 10 p.m. It ends at 5 a.m. When people go to work, our friend Tia comes home. He adapted to making a living at any time of the day during his childhood and followed the same life path in his bad days of looting and armed robbery. Because he always earned his living at night and slept during the day, some of his street acquaintances in his youth time called him the child of Satan and the son of a bitch. Naturally, the criminal judge who sent him to shallow prison changed this bad name. And when Tia got out of the maximum security penitentiary, he decided to keep his new name, but his name is his first and last name. The outcast man Tia had no way to entertain himself. He does not have a mobile phone, television, radio, or a recording device. If someone had told him that the computer was the name of a new prophet who appeared in America, he would have believed him. Imagine then his astonishment at the chain of events that began to his life one day. On that historical day, as our brother Tia was returning home from his night shift, he saw a young couple standing in front of his small hut. At first, he either thought that The couple were strangers in the city who had lost their way, or that he had lost his senses and started imagining things that were not real. He slapped his stony face to make sure he wasn't imagining the face of the pretty girl who was smiling at him. No one had ever shown affection to Tia before. For the first time, he was recognized as a human being who, like everyone else, had a heart that could respond to tenderness and social sentiment. He gestured with his hand in a response to the beautiful girl's charming smile. "You are welcome, dear brother," the sweet girl said, still smiling. Then she offered her hand to Mr. Tia. The Baramilo man did not reply, but exchanged his rough hand and took the girl's delicate and soft hand. "My name is Olivia, and this is my husband, Malwal," the girl said, pointing to the handsome man next to her. His throat was dry as he answered, "My name is Tia." "We are visitors," continued Olivia, her charming smile still gracing her pretty lips. "Our brother Tia does not know what a person should do with his visitors, because no human being has ever visited him before. I don't think even Satan or any of his demons have ever visited him before. Naturally, neither a thief by day nor a burglar by night would dare to come to such a desolated head. If they had, if they do that, they will not. They will find not some. They will not find something of value to steal and sell." So our brother Tia kept staring at his unwanted guest. The beautiful Azandi girl lightened the awkwardness of the moment by saying, "Can we go into your hut?" Mr. Tia nodded his big bald head, which like Mr. Tia nodded his big head, which was like a huge deleba or the large mango of slaves, in agreement, and led the way to his little cave. Since he did not have a chair or a bed, he sat on the dusty floor and asked his two guests to sit on the ground as well. "People here," he asked himself silently. He soon found out. "We have come to offer you a great golden opportunity," Oliver said. The expression on his face revealed to the beautiful girl that he did not understand what she said to him. She rephrased her words. "I mean to say, we came to offer you a deal." "What is the deal?" Mr. Tia answered fearfully. While in prison, he learned that the word deal meant killing for someone else and getting paid for it. "I mean to say, we come to offer you a deal." "What is a deal?" Mr. Tia answered fearfully. While in Charlotte prison, he learned that the word deal meant killing for someone else and getting paid for it as a hired killer. If this is what they came to offer him, Mr. Tia has no desire to return to Shala concentration death camp again. He would rather starve to death in the streets like a vagabond than return to the death bottomless pit. "It is not a bad deal," Malwal said, speaking for the first time. Olivia nodded in agreement. "Yes, my husband's right. It is not a bad deal. We are good citizens like you." Our brother Tia is still skeptical and unsure. He asked them, "What is your deal then?" Olivia continued her explanation. "We saw you somewhere in town, and we knew you were a hardworking person. Therefore, we would love to help you earn some extra cash if you agree to do a little work for us. What is your work? Mrs. T asked, becoming less afraid and more curious. And how much money will I get paid if I do this job for you? We'll pay you 1 billion Sudanese pounds, said the handsome husband. Your wages will be in cash, said the beautiful wife. Even if Mr. Tia had to continue working as a Baramilo man for the rest of his life, he would not receive 1% of this huge sum. With £1 billion, he could be reborn as another human being in a different life and in a higher caste. With this money, he can quit his dirty work, immigrate to another city, start a new clean life, marry a woman, have children. And when he dies, his sons and daughters can carry his name with pride. This is like the story of the hasty man who built castles in the air before selling his bottle of ghee. After building all these illusions in his imagination, the hasty man saw that his unsold bottle was the rebellious son he had not yet had. And instead of the bad son, he hit the bottle with a stick and spilled the ghee. On that day, our brother Tia went through the same stages, but fortunately, he did not have a stick in his hand to hit one of his unexpected visitors. If your deal won't get me in trouble with the police, I'm willing to accept it, Mr. Tia said after a long silence. I swear by the blindness of my both eyes, our deal has nothing to do with the police or a crime, said Olivia, placing two fingers of her right hand near her beautiful eyes. We came to you because no one else can do the job. Why only me? Brother Tia's little red eyes narrowed with suspicion. Because your work as a Baramilo man gives you a golden opportunity to earn 1 billion Sudanese pounds overnight, Malwal said with a smile. In the end, his sweet wife Olivia explained in detail what Mr. Tia had to do for her and her husband Malwal, and the Baramilo man gladly accepted the golden deal of a lifetime.